Blessings and welcome. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and this is your weekly tarot energy forecast for June 23rd, all the way through the end of the month. I'm so very grateful to be with you here, and I appreciate all of the new subscribers. If this is your first time joining me here for a weekly tarot energy forecast, thank you so much for hopping on. Please do subscribe if it resonates. Hit the thumbs up, comment, like, share. I'm so very grateful for all of it, and thank you again, everyone, so much for your support. I use the Osho Zen Tarot, yet because I am actually filming this on the summer solstice, I am guided to pull an overview card for us from the Mayan Oracle, which I don't usually use here on these tarot forecasts. Now, there's a chunk in the Mayan Oracle that are star glyphs, and then there are a chunk of cards that are lenses, and then there are a chunk of cards that are numbers. And I feel that I'm to pull one from one of these. So help me now. Let's just take a moment to tune in. I'm getting numbers. Okay, so I'm getting numbers to shuffle the numbers portion of these cards of the Mayan Oracle deck, and then to read for us all what the card pertains to. We are moving now into a new realm. Wherever you are in the world, perhaps it is the summer solstice, perhaps it is the winter, depending on the hemisphere you're in. But there's massive changes happening. If you watched our video last week, which I'll come back and put a link to, there are such massive changes happening within us and all around us. And I feel guided to help our path be illuminated by drawing one of these. So let's go ahead and take a moment and we'll tune in. We'll take a deep breath in and out. And just before we get to shuffling our Osho Zen, we will acknowledge this Mayan Oracle this Mayan Oracle deck. And this portion of the Mayan Oracle deck that is the numbers. We call in our angels, our guides, all of those divine light ones, light beings who love us and that we love. And we thank you for being present with us. We call in our animal totems, our spirit guides. And we ask our higher selves to help draw forth a card that is symbolic and that truly serves the community that is guided to gather here to receive divine insights, divine guidance and downloads for their path for the highest good. We call on you now, this collective higher self that is attuned to pure love, pure light, to serve us in helping to be illumined at this point of our path. And we're just going to keep going here until I'm guided otherwise. So we thank you, our angels. We thank you, our guides. Oh, here we go. Okay, interesting. 2 fell. I'm getting to go for the one on the left, which is my left, which is this one. Mystical power. Woo! Mystical power. Okay, I'm going to set this at the very top of the deck. I'm going to put these to the side, and because these are not cards that I read for the public, but I use them for myself, I'm going to put my little glasses on, and I'm going to read for us the meaning. Mystical power. May your mystical power, lotus of light, ignite your cascading chrysalis of travel among the stars. Mystical alignment, self-acceptance, technician of the sacred. Ooh, I like that. Technician of the sacred. Direct connection with the source and emptiness are the qualities that come with this card. And then there's a couple of paragraphs. 7. Oh, because this symbolizes the number of 7. 7 is the ray of mystical power, the foundation of the individual self, freed within the 2 points of polarity. Your soul calls forth your ability to decode the hidden mysteries. Claim your mystical wisdom by acknowledging your personal relationship to the source. Catalyze the mystical force of your 7 chakras to propel you to the region of divine illumination within. The consciousness of 7 puts theory to the test, asking for practical application of your mystical power. As a technician of the sacred, you integrate the polarity of worlds into an operant foundation. You wear the 7-pointed star, symbol of the master artisan. Combine your feelings and intellect to transmute matter into mystical consciousness. Standing in simple self-acceptance, craft a light body from the column of light in your spine. Open your lotus to the world. You are a gift. Accept yourself unconditionally, freed from the need for outside confirmation. Stand open to your full mystical power. Align with the spinning mystery of the seven chakras, 7 planets, 7 rays, 7 steps of the pyramid, the 7 stages of consciousness conjoined. Wow. There is a lot here. And it's so interesting because this resonates. You know, there was parts I just finished live streaming today, Thursday, June 21st, our 4D Trinity, which I'll put a link here. And it was Defy Depression, the metaphysics of mental illness. And there's so much resonant here with just becoming aware of this crystalline tube and the chakras and how important the health and the maintenance of them is to our mental health, to our mental well-being, and to every part of our bodies. And there was much more of that conversation that I was going to go into, yet at the end of the show, I realized that's for a different show where we talk more on that crystalline tube that connects us to Source, to God, to love, to the Most High Divine, and how when that tube is honored, is activated, is calibrated, is cleared and cleansed, our divine ability to connect with our own divinity, to be that sacred technician, to begin to master alchemy, to practice alchemy in our lives, becomes an offering. It comes to the forefront of our experience in life. And always the alchemist, always the master, practitioner, the healer, the path is to work on oneself. That's what we have, this gift, this palette of pain, this palette of experiences that we have along our timelines of being here, whether you believe in one life or many lives. It is that we can use these experiences to learn how to be a master of our time and space, to learn how to alchemate and to turn our pain into power so that we can shift timelines and have a very different experience of living on this world, of experiencing heaven on earth, of being in the world and not of it, versus being a victim in a planet that is called the world. So very deep, mystical power. So that's our overview card, right? From the Mayan Oracle. And you know what, I'm guided. Let me just show you the cover of this book, just so you know. A galactic language of light. It is just a very powerful oracle, guided for you as you resonate with it. So let's get into our reading, the chunk of our reading with our Osho Zen Tarot. Taking a nice deep breath in and out, and we'll start to shuffle. Again, all of our guides, our angels, our higher self, all of those light beings, totems are welcome to help hold space and guide light for this reading, help to connect the dots of all of the messages here. I sign myself into the keynote of everyone guided to join. We just had a chunk of cards fall out. I'm guided to keep going here. We thank you, our angels, our guides. This reading is an energy forecast, a tarot energy forecast for June 23rd, through the end of June, through the 30th or the 31st. I'm not quite sure. You know what? Let's just get clear on that. So this will be for June 23rd through to June 30th of 2018. We thank you, our guides. We just had a flyer, a popper fall out. We thank you for all of the divine messages, for leading us along our perfect path. I pray and I affirm that all of the messages shared here truly serve everyone's path of spiritual growth, of self-mastery and sovereignty, freedom and liberation. Okay, we had a ton of cards fall, so let's go ahead and get to this. Okay, so the first chunks that fell out were here. Maturity, we had this last week. Integration, totally all about last week, which will come back. Change, okay, we'll come back. If I haven't already said it, I will put a link here. These are all last week's. Oh my goodness, politics. And you saw how I was shuffling these. Silence, right? Our guide to meditate. Guilt, aloneness. Okay, well, these last couple ones are different. And then let's keep going. Then we had Wow, we have tons of cards. Then we had letting go. Okay, this speaks to the week before. Stress and rebirth speaks to the week before. Sorrow. So we're coming to a culmination here. The mind. Okay, yes, we are, because look, we have success. Remember, we had this slowing down. We had a couple weeks ago. And then we have the last chunk that fell out, transformation, which was also up recently. Participation, conditioning, and the burden. Conditioning and the burden. So this is a lot here to contend with. So let's just take a moment. You know what it feels like, because this is this new cycle, this new season that we're coming into. It feels like the cards are saying, review. Look at everywhere you've been. Look at how far you've come. Look at what you've healed, what you've mastered. And also be aware of those areas where further healing and further self-mastery are there for you to garner. So always the guidance here is to be a master of our time and space, to be a master of our mind and our mouth, of what energies we hold there, what we send out, what we share, and being aware of how that either serves us or another to uplift, to nourish, to fortify us, or not, to bring us back down, away from our lightness of being, away from our light body. And it's interesting because we have the change card, right, which we know was up massive last week. Last week was all about new codes of change coming in and our ability to adapt, our ability to shape shift, to shift from those old timelines of who we used to be into the new versions of ourselves that are calling us to be. And that seems to be this ongoing story. We have learned to integrate, right? We've been doing the work. We've learned to integrate all of our pain, or to the degree that we can, the pain, the sorrow, the things, those life occurrences that have happened, the codes have shifted. We're in a new timeline. Change is upon us, and change is saying, like, look, I'm change, I'm coming, I'm here, and I'm ready to change. Are you ready to change? Because the degree that you are willing to wear your maturity, wear your growth experience, your divine knowledge of what you've been through in the past, to wear it, to own it, and to let it guide you, and to say yes to change, that is the degree that change is going to be able and willing to take you to your next level of life. What holds us back are our inner politician, the tar body, the part of us that is the shadow that wants us not to get on in life, that wants us to perpetuate the darkness, the sadness, the pain, the fear. And that could be how we hold ourselves in certain relationships that we are done with, that are on a higher heart level. We know from the mystical power within ourselves that we are done with, yet on a 3D level, we, instead of changing, we stay safe, we stay where we are, instead of allowing the truths in our heart to really inspire us to see things differently. We decide to allow the inner politician, the mask that fear wears on behalf of us, we allow that to lead versus the truth in our hearts. And what happens when this happens is that our higher self knows, we know, the mystical power, the higher self of you knows when you are not being true to yourself. So you start feeling guilt. You start becoming even more blocked in your mental capacity, your emotional capacity to be one with the light. Your mind starts to drive you crazy. You get further and further away from your inherent mystical power, because the mind is what's blocking the rays of the sun of the light. And ultimately, where we are guided to go always, you know, with these readings, our catchphrase here is meditate, meditate, meditate. This is the card of silence. The third eye is lit up at the moon. Now, we also just went through the new moon. We will be coming at the end of this month into the full moon, which is the harvest. The new moon is where we start to plant new seeds, right? New beginnings. We start to think of these new aspects in our life, the way we would like to be, and the way we would like life to show up for us, so that we can be that version of ourselves here in the world. And when we meditate, we get silent. What happens is that these masks of that inner politician start to burn off. Those things that we feel guilty for become gently resolved. The mind is given a break where it no longer has to think it has to figure everything out or drive itself crazy from being in two places at once. Instead, we come attuned with the part of us that is wise, that is a master, that knows how to be in the present moment, that knows how to be centered and to trust its heart. And we learn that through being silent, through being in nature. You know, practicing silence, even if it's for 5 minutes a day, for an hour a day, 1 day a week, 3 days out of a week, for a whole week, whatever it is such a powerful way to get in tune with the truth of you. I've practiced silence once. It's in my book, The Reiki Apprentice. Again, my links are down in the show more box if you want to purchase it and have a read. It's a juicy adventure story of how I garnered and came into understanding all of these spiritual and metaphysical principles, and how I learned to use them with Reiki to help heal my life so I could be a master of my life, be a master of my time and space, in relationship with the body of the universe, in relationship with the divine source and force of love and of light. And a big part of that path for all of us, whatever way of the path you choose, is to practice silence. And in my book, I share there's a week where I participate in being silent. And it was the most amazing experience to hear my mind and all of the judgments in my mind as I meditated. And it was like it was the most difficult challenge I had, was to be silent, because the multitude of thoughts and of distractions that my mind had, and of judgments about everyone and everything around me, I realized how destructive and how distracting these thoughts were, and how much they kept wanting to pull me from my center, pull me from this version of myself that is integrated, that knows how to naturally integrate its powers. And through practicing silence, through practicing stillness, I came into this new level of awareness of my power, and you can too. And ultimately, when we do practice stillness and silence, we come into contact with those aspects of ourself, perhaps where sadness resides, perhaps where we get to release that which has been. And again, this whole reading so far, in the beginning of it, feels like a recap, like we're reviewing where we've been over these last few readings, these last few months, as we move forward into this new cycle. So as we start to meditate, we begin to realize, again, like how I was, where we're holding stress, where we create stress, where we say yes to stress in our minds, in our emotions. And we start to learn that we have a choice. We start to learn how to choose love over light, how to be an active participant in our life's story, in our life's adventure and myth, whereby we can move away from the dullness of the camel, of feeling like a victim and like you just are being taken by the world and there's nothing you can do. And believe me, side note, there is a grace to that, to allowing, to surrendering. But when it comes from that place of like, take me, highest love and light, show me where to go, what to do, what to say, and to whom, that's a very different space of living from feeling like you're just being dragged along from life. And so we move from this feeling of being dragged along in life and feeling like we can't help where we go, into realizing the lion within, the part of you that is the great creator, the part of you that is the fierce master. And once you know that mastery, then you get to be the child playing the flute. You get to come back to this innocence of like, oh, okay, I know I'm a master. I know I don't have to be dragged around by all of these thoughts and emotions of the past. Now I can relax and come back to being this child within. And this brings us into this letting go, because as we release, you know, in coming back to the innocence, in releasing all of this mind stuff of being in two places at once, all of the guilt that you might have accumulated, all of the ways that you are not being honest with yourself or with others, this creates stress, because your higher self, your divine light body, knows the truth of you. And you can be unconscious of it. It can be on a subconscious level that these programs are running. Yet deep inside, when you get still enough and silent enough, something starts to happen where peace is given the correct conditions to multiply, to manifest. And in your silence, in your stillness, there comes a shift. It's like if you do yoga. I remember when I first started doing yoga, I mean years and years ago, and in a larger class setting and a more vinyasa type yoga, where your body's getting thoroughly worked out, you're breaking a sweat, you're challenging yourself, all this sort of stuff. And then at the end, you lay down and you take savasana, which is corpse pose, where you completely are still and silent for anywhere from a minute to 5-10 minutes. And this is the part of the practice where all of the moves, all of the breath, all of the way you've twisted and turned and, like a sponge, just wrung out these organs and all the stuff in your cells and the toxins, and now you've regenerated. You've opened up your channels for life force, more life force to flow through you so that everything can operate in greater harmony. Well, what happens in that silence and that stillness is that there is a recalibration of that which was off into that which is coming into alignment to the degree it is allowed to change and serve your highest good, to the degree it is allowed to integrate through the light and dark aspects of you. But as this happens, there is a purging, there is a releasing, there is often, I remember the first time I really got into this level of savasana and I just bawled my eyes out. There was so much stuff that had been released through my yoga practice that I had no idea, that I wasn't even expecting. And then when I just got silent and still, like I just bawled. And it was such a healing and cathartic experience. And it just took that 5 minutes. And then I was able to rest. And when I came out of that class, I was a completely different person. The reset button had been hit. My mystical power, my ability to access my mystical power was no longer blocked. My ability to access my unfuckable ability with was reconnected, was recalibrated. So there's a letting go. There has been a letting go. Remember a couple weeks ago, there was a question and it wasn't time for the answer. And then last week, the universe was like, okay, it's time to start answering that question. It's time to start allowing the truth in your heart to show you where the answer is, and for you to start participating, even if it's in little ways, to honoring that truth in your heart, to honoring where that guidance is showing you. And with it again, there's a letting go of who you once were. And this card shows that there's a drop of water at the edge, right where my finger is, at the edge of this leaf that's about to fall off into the water here. It's already past the point of no return, and in fact, because there's a ripple in the water, we see that there's already been a drop dropped. So there's a part of you that has already cried the tears, that has already been releasing the stress, the pain, the sorrow, and that knows. There's a part of your higher self that is already divinely designing a path to your perfect life, that is moving the chess pieces of your mind, of your emotions in such a way for you to have the journey that only you can do for yourself, the journey that is you living your truth, that is you following your light. Aloneness is like the hermit, is like the master that walks by themselves in the world, that knows that only they can do for themselves anything. And it is you coming into this place. So no matter whether you're married or you have a job that has a 402(k) or you've been, you promised your heart to this person for the rest of your life, no matter if you have someone or something that you think you can lean on, ultimately, it's you that you get to learn to lean on. And we learn how to do this in these silent spaces where we can be still and begin to tap into those whizzing of atomic structures that make us up. And we get to feel into what feels real to us and what feels unreal to us. We get to feel into our mystical power, our power to make choices and decisions on our own behalf that allow us to be picked up by the winds of change and carried by that wind. As this happens, layers of conditioning, all of those stories, this is all we're doing, is we're healing from these layers of conditioning. We're healing from these stories that are not true to us. We're healing from these stories of our past, of our memories, of society, of our cultures, of our families, of all of the fear-based realities. Can you imagine what it would be like to exist in this world without the fear that you learned as a child of the world, without the stories, without the masks that we unconsciously, subconsciously wear in certain environments and situations in this world for protection, for safety? Well, this change is saying those masks are coming off. All you need is love, and love is the truth. This card is about this lion who grew up, very grateful to grow up with a pack of sheep. He thought he was a sheep as a little cub growing up. To the degree you see there's a sheep sort of tied to his back, tied to his arms, like he was a lion in sheep's clothing. But that's how he was brought up, to grow and to understand himself, until one day he's at the lake and he really sees his reflection as he's drinking water, and he says, wait a minute, I am not a sheep. I am not this story that they've told me, even though I love the sheep and I bless them and they've been my guardians and they've taken care of me. I am not that. I am that I am. Okay, I am that to a degree, yet I am more than that. What is my true story? And the lion comes into its full, authentic power, where it remembers who it is, and it can only do that on its own. It contemplates what that truth means, and what it calls is the release of this burden. So very similarly, this burden card came up next to conditioning, and it's interesting. We look at the lion has a sheep tied to its back, and in the burden card, this symbolizes us walking up a mountain with someone on our back telling us where to go and how to do things. And look at us on the bottom. We are exhausted. We do not look happy. This is not in A Course in Miracles, when you pray to God or to Source or to love and you say, where would you have me go? Dear God, what would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? And where you're giving your life, to service for the highest good and allowing that higher power to guide it. No, this is where you have decided to relinquish your connection with Source, to relinquish the connection to your heart, and you're letting someone else tell you where to go, what to do. They are holding your staff of power in their hand, and it is exhausting you. And this is what happens, is that as you release these stories, these conditionings, with these winds of change that are upon us, you become a participant in the true value, living the true life of your life. You start to get turned on to your mystical power. You start to calibrate, just from you choosing to live the truth in your heart. All of the chakras in your energy system become calibrated. They are given the correct conditions to be nourished, to be sustained, to coordinate their powers and their activities, their activations in alignment with the truth in your heart, as a body, on this body of a planet in this world. So we have these last three cards. So we've been through all of our stories here. And we know that this mystical power is a huge part of where we're coming into. And we are on the winds of this change, right? And again, last week was talking all about that the more that we can gently and authentically surrender to the changes that we know are the truth within us, as we allow ourselves to say yes to them, to create a sacred space for them on the altar of ourselves, the altar of our lives, that's really all we have to do. That's what we get to do in order to be carried by this change, in order for the transformation of self to happen. All you have to do is say yes for this new level of success, for you to experience this new level of success within yourself and in the 3D. Now, it's interesting, we have this slowing down card, which I know was a part of our readings a couple weeks ago, where when it wasn't time, right? When we had the question, but it wasn't time to answer the question, it was a time for slowing down. So let's just see, taking a breath and coming back to shuffling the cards. Okay, so I'm getting to do a Vegas shuffle. We'll do a few of those. I call it a Vegas shuffle. But we're going to see and ask for clarity. So knowing that we're moving through this gateway. Oh, yes, baby. The master is in the house. I mean, do we really need another card? Maybe. Maybe not. The master's in the house. This is you, my friend. This is me. This is us. This is the highest card in the deck. This is where our change is taking us. And just like that silence card, that stillness, that card that wants us to meditate, to be still, to listen to within, this is a part of slowing down. So there's a part through this integration and participation of these changes happening in our lives that are going to require us to act, that are going to require us to be still. And it's listening to tune in to that divine guidance as it steers us, that will always show us if we listen when it's time to sit and meditate, as we listen when it's time to go out and participate in the world in a certain way, and that these intuitions are guiding us through these winds of change, and our ability to listen and to show up, whether it is in stillness or in activity, is a part of this divine transformation of us reclaiming our mystical power, of activating all of those energy centers, of all of the chakras. Yet it takes this balance of slowing down and action, of showing up and disappearing. It's like the particle and the wave, and it said that we exist and we're constantly fluctuating. We're constantly, like, if you can see on a scientific quantum level, we are constantly flickering in and out of existence. And we are constantly choosing, well, consciously or unconsciously, subconsciously, depending on how aligned those levels are, we are either choosing for our transformation to be filled with light or filled with dark. And what we're doing is we're coming back to our mystical power. We're coming back to being and embodying the master. So this is our trajectory, moving into this summer solstice. If you're on the other part of the world, moving into this winter solstice, this is where we're heading. We are heading into a new level of mastery, of learning how divinely potent our words, our thoughts, our actions are, in connection to bringing to earth those truths within our heart, to living them, to embodying them, to sharing our gifts in the world, to receiving all the divine success, nurturance, financial abundance, health, to having all the time, the correct space, and the organizing of situations, so that the divine can come into being through you as a master. You are done. This is significant. This change, if you should take it, is saying you are done with a certain level of your apprenticeship. You are done with a certain level of being a student. Now understand, as a master, the master will know, a wise master will know, that they are always a student, that there is always a level of apprenticeship at hand. Initiation of apprenticeship, of being a student in certain levels of our life, where we are ready now, the winds of change are ready to take us into a new level of mastery. We are transforming this week. We are meeting and seeing ourselves on new levels of how we get to show up in the world and what that means and what doors that opens up for us. What doors does it open up for you? You are ready. The winds of change are upon us, and the master within you is saying, here I am. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to ignore me? I am fully psychic. I am fully intuitive. I am fully attuned to the truth in your heart. And I'm ready to use the mystical power that is inherently mine in my ability to heal myself, to see with light sight, to activate my third eye, to see beyond the veils of illusion, and to start to put into play my truth in this world, through this body on this planet, so that I can bridge heaven on earth and be a conscious co-creator of the divine here on this plane, so that I can be in the world and not of it, so that you can be in the world and not of it. More and more and more, so that as we come into this new level of mastery, we come into, for a moment, this new crowning glory and ability to be in the world and not of it, and to see the world differently. And at the other side, we also are coming into a new level of apprenticeship, a new level of study and of awareness. But we only come into that as we let go of the old. We slow down enough, because there is a processing period, it feels, this week, where those things that were remnants from these past months or this past couple weeks of this change coming upon us, those energy letters we get to write, those prayers we get to say, those forgiveness, those practices of practicing forgiveness, the things we need to make peace with, whatever it is, the relationships, the job, the things we need to say no thank you to, or namaste, or thank you, but I'm out. And also the things we get to say, yes, I'm in. I choose this on purpose. The master within me is saying to choose this, so I'm going to choose this to honor my path of success, of having the experience of success. It's not just what you achieve or attain at the end of the journey, but success is how you move through every step of the journey along the way. Whew! This is on fire, you guys. If the information I share resonates, if the tools that I talk about resonate and you want to learn for yourself how to use them to help heal your life, to be a master of your life, contact me. My rates for spiritual counseling and for tarot are the same. I will send you all of that information and how we can hook it up online. And I am running, again, just a final reminder, my tarot special for the summer is 30 for 30, where you get a 30-minute reading for $30. You can book your 30 for 30 reading for me once you've left your review of my material. And if you don't have any of my books, again, the link for my book, The NOWOSPHERE, is down below. You can download it for free. It's a short mini book that will truly serve your path of healing, of growth, of understanding your authentic self-power in this moment and how to walk and be and embody that in the now, in the NOWOSPHERE. You can do that for free, and you can leave me a review on iBooks or on Amazon to receive your 30 for 30 reading. I am so very grateful for all of the ways that we share together. Thank you so very much. I'm so very blessed. Blessings to all of the subscribers, all of the visitors. Thank you so much. Namaste. Until next time. Blessings.